need to do, you need to evaluate the neighborhood. That's most important. What is the days on market? Super, super important because you don't want to get stuck with a house. And in that instance of that house I just showed you, I did a renovation loan, and we'll talk about that. And so if you are paying interest every month or you're paying a mortgage, you need to flip it fast. And with a renovation loan, most loan officers will not give you a renovation loan unless it's going to be for 7 months because they get dinged on it. Just remember that. They have to pay it back their commission if you take a mortgage and pay it off within 7 months. So keep that in the back of your mind. All right, so big things I determine. Is there an HOA? Because that's going to limit what I do without approval. That's why I like Spring Branch. There's no HOAs, and if they are, they're like voluntary and they're $45 a year. So that's also not very risky in terms of money, in terms of what you have to put forward in your closing costs. You need to evaluate the school district. So Katy ISD, great flip area. Cypress, great flip area. Woodlands, great flip area. Spring Branch, excellent flip area because the price per square foot is high. All right, so evaluate those neighborhood comps. So days on market, analyze the specifics. What's selling in that neighborhood? So you have to do your research on each individual neighborhood. Is it a luxury executive neighborhood? If that's the case, like, do you guys know where Windsor Park Lakes is or Lakes on Eldridge North? Those are heavy expat areas. Expats spend money, right? They have money to spend, and a lot of times it's cash. So if you have extra money and can do a little bit higher flip value, that really pays off. I mean, I know you guys have all seen the HGTV, Flip or Flop, and all of them. The more money you spend, the higher your return is. All right, but you need to wait for opportunity, guys. Don't just jump into something because it might seem like a good flip. You have to know your numbers. All right, so this was a flip that I did. You can see this, I actually moved into this house. So this is the old pictures, obviously. So it's in Green Trails Estates in Katy off of Fry Road, South Fry Road. So I purchased it for $460 in 2012. And that was at $101 a square foot. It had a guest house, massive pool. I mean, it had the works. All I did is put 10% down on a conventional loan because I knew that I was probably going to put $100,000 into the property. But back then, the interest rates back then were at 2.585 on a 15-year. So I did a 15-year because I was going to live in it for a while. Do I suggest that? No. Always do a 30. This is the after picture. So again, before, so brick, I refaced the brick. Before any of the stack stone was popular, I'm one of the people that made that stuff popular, right here. And then the chandeliers, all the Restoration Hardware chandeliers, the big, huge orbs, this was right when those first came out in 2012. So you can see the difference now. So just paint, flooring. This was actually, I only put $100,000 into this house. This was not a major flip for me, okay? And we turned around and sold it for $670 in 2017 after Hurricane Harvey hit. So you wait for opportunity. I made $100K. Yep, and I lived in it, and I enjoyed it, and I loved it, and raised my kids there. We had a guest house, so I leased that out to people whenever they needed a place to stay. So renovations, $100K. So paint, flooring, lighting. Lighting makes a huge difference, guys. If you're updating someone's house before they list it, and they've got the old 80s fixtures, light fixtures and things in it, that's a cheap fix. So because women love lighting. They like sparkly, shiny, diamondy things, right? So if you just do the lighting and the ceiling fans, you'd be surprised at how fast a house will sell with lighting, ceiling fans, maybe some faucets here and there, and paint. Okay, so think about that. Your closing costs were $23,000. We profited 87 plus. It's closer to 100. I was just trying to be conservative here. So we had 7 offers in 24 hours, guys. That's how awesome this house was that we had. 3 of them were cash, 4 were financed. But the most important thing, back then, we didn't have an appraisal right to terminate form. There was none of that was, that we just didn't have that. So in special provisions, I had to put that if it didn't appraise, that they would come out of pocket, and it did not appraise. I listed it for $620 at a price at $590, and they offered $670. So these guys came $80,000 out of pocket to get this house. And then they lived in it for 2 years. They renovated it even more. They gutted the kitchen and did a full gut. I didn't even have to do the gut kitchen, and they sold it for $690. Dumb. They wasted and threw away money. They lit money on fire. I'm like, oh, it's not my fault. All right. So the most important thing what you need to do is start researching interior design sites. So I know most of you guys probably aren't on Facebook, us oldies are. They have a lot of renovation Facebook groups. There's Reno Facebook groups, there's Our House, Restoration Hardware Facebook groups, so that you can kind of get ideas and learn from other people that are designers. So start doing that research. Start getting on HGTV. Watch HGTV. Super important, but just know that HGTV is TV. It's not real. Some facets are real. Most of the facets aren't. Chip and Joanna Gaines, it takes them 6 months minimum to do those houses. Not in a month, I promise you. Research your local contractors. Okay, if you don't have a contractor that you've been working with for years, flipping might not be right for you. So you need to develop that relationship. Maybe start doing these smaller houses that need things before you list them. They need a little bit of love before you list them. That's how you get your contractor base going. That's how you find the good electrician, the good plumber, the good roofer. So I have all those people too, if any of you guys need them in the future, okay? Staging, my stager and my contractor, VFR Texas, some of you guys have probably seen them around. They do all the higher end homes. I have another one with Arco Homes, and I have another one with MTY. Okay. Now, this was a flipping that this house, I took over the listing for this guy. And I told him, I said, listen, the kitchen is hideous. You live in a beautiful area in Cinco Ranch. These houses sell quickly. It had a pool. We could not get somebody to take this house. And he didn't listen to me. He's like, I just want you to list it. So after sitting there for 6 months, open houses, on and on and on, finally, I convinced him to let me fix the kitchen. And all I had to do was that. Sold one day. One day, guys. One day. And I want to say it cost $18,000, $11,000 kitchen remodel. So we did marble counters, white. We refaced everything. I used the same cabinetry, but make sure whoever does your cabinetry knows how to do it right. They have to strip everything down and then spray it. Not roll it, make them spray it, okay? Or else it's not gonna look right. I stripped and stained the floors, so the floors were kind of a blondish color, so we stripped and stained them. It's $2,000. Nothing. That's literally nothing. And then we removed a beam. There was a weird beam. See all those beams up there? So it really ruined the sight line. So the kitchen is typically the focal point. It's usually the fireplace is the focal point of family room. Kitchen obviously is another focal point in the downstairs of the house. So those beams really screwed with my focal point. So once I removed them, look at the sight line now. I mean, that's a beautiful view. Yes, it was holding. So we had to put in power beams. Okay. So the big beams, those big, huge beams, that are 20 feet long, those are called power beams, just for the future, for your future reference. It typically costs anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 to take down beams and walls. So remember that. If you've got a load-bearing wall that's holding up the ceiling or any place else structurally in the house, $3,000 to $6,000 is kind of the magic number, and it depends on how big the beam is, okay? So virtual staging, that was the other thing. I virtually staged a couple rooms, did this remodel, boom. And that's how fast it goes, guys. And so, I think most of you were at my listing presentation, and so I'm gonna always hammer either virtually stage it or physically stage it. If you don't, you're doing a disservice to your clients, okay? And I've got a great girl that can do the virtual staging, but I do mine myself. All right, so when evaluating a house to renovate, you need to figure out how long renovations are gonna take. make sure when you're in your option period or before you're even in your option period, I take my contractors with me. Now I kind of know how much everything costs along the way, and you learn that as you go. So make sure to get written quotes from your contractors, all right? Now, in the instance where you find a really good house to flip and you have competition, you don't have time. You don't have time to fart around with financing. You don't have time for any of that. So what I suggest you do is if you're going to do a renovation loan, go ahead and get approval whenever you think you're going to start doing it. Get it ahead of time. Get your pre-approval ahead of time. It lasts 90 days before they have to pull your credit again. Okay, so just have it ready to go so you can go, here it is. Here's my offer. All right? You need to know, is it a quick fix or is it a massive renovation? Obviously, I don't suggest you do anything like what I did at your first flip. You'll not know what's going on, okay? Use licensed and insured contractors. Do not use a contractor if they say they have insurance. You ask to see that insurance because all of them are very shysty and they don't want to pay the money. But if they're doing a $200,000 remodel on a house that's worth $680,000, they need insurance, guys. All right. Always get an inspection. Yes.
Do they have to be licensed, or they can do it?
So there is no quote unquote contractor license in the state of Texas. What there is the subs have to have licenses. So if you're doing a renovation loan, like Prime Lending does all my renovation loans, you have to have the electrician has to be a master electrician. You have to have a master plumber. So those have to be licensed and they have to show that up front for the renovation loan. Just like you have to show the contractor's insurance ahead of time as well. So anybody that's going to be doing anything crazy in the house has to be licensed. That's a great question. Always get an inspection. Now, I did not get an inspection on that Nocturne house, the one that I showed you in the beginning, because I knew everything sucked. I mean, everything. I knew the plumbing was getting ripped out. I knew I was going to do under slab plumbing. I dug under the slab and did all of that as well. So in that instance, I knew it should have been torn down, right? So this is the thing, when we go back and think about that last slide that we just looked at, this is the same house. I could have saved that homeowner $21,000 in mortgage, taxes, insurance, and HOA had he listened to me from the beginning. If he had just put the $11,000 in it, then we'd have been done. Bing, bang, boom, jack up the price of the house, he would have made more money. But instead, he was stubborn and he lost $21,000 by letting it sit. So when you're evaluating a house and when you go in, and Riley came with me for my last brokerage, and she's been learning. She's been shadowing me because she's on my team, right? And so we went into a house that needed a little bit of work. And how many colors was it? Like 4 or 5? 4 or 5 colors.
Maroon and yellow and green.
And it made the house look so dark and small. And just those little fixes, it took them, 3-4 weeks? We were on the market, we sold in less than a week. So just those little things. There are different ways to get money other than a renovation loan. You can get a HELOC. Anybody done a home equity line of credit before? A lot of times, that's what I'll recommend to sellers. If they don't have hard cold cash in their bank account, yet their house has equity, they can get a home equity line of credit. So they call up their lender, their bank, and say, hey, my house is worth $400,000. I need to do a small remodel. I need, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for a remodel. So they get a small loan, interest-only loan, all right? And they pay the contractor with that. And then once we pay off the house, once it sells, then they pay that HELOC back. And that HELOC will become,
Interest only.
Interest only, yeah. A HELOC, you can pay interest only based on what you're using. So you can pull money out of your house.
If you plan to sell it, though.
If you plan to sell it. You can get a HELOC. How many of you guys have something in your house that needs to be renovated right now?
Well, that's what
Yes.
do, so.
Yes. For your instance, yes, you should consider getting a HELOC. Yeah. So there's not a ton of banks that will do HELOC. You're not going to use a traditional lender like you would use Prime Lending or Caliber Loans or whatever. They don't do HELOCs. You're going to have to go to a local bank. Yes, ma'am.
Can you use HELOC for commercial real estate, or is it just residential?
No, it's a home equity line of credit. Now, yeah.
Does anything like that exist for commercial?
Yes, yes, yes. So let's talk about that afterwards because yes, you can. Yes. It's basically an interest-only loan. So that's what I do when I build. You get a commercial loan and you pay only on the interest until the end. You know, if you've got it for 11 months, if your finance is for 11 to 12 months, month 12, you're going to get hit. So you better sell that baby quick. Okay? All right, so Zoom Casa. Zoom Casa is another program online that you can use to do this. A lot of times they'll use their contractors. They'll buy your house from you. You can use their contractors. You can pay their contractors back at closing. So if you have a good relationship with a contractor, a lot of times my contractors will say, yeah, if you front the first half of it, like if you front all the materials and everything, and then you can pay me back at the end when you close. A lot of people will do that. Not typical. You really have to have a good relationship with them. So my advice is to find a contractor that has money, that have a lot of money, that want to partner with you and buy the house with you 50-50. And then use him and his labor, use you and your real estate skills, and marry the two. Okay? Let's see. All right, so here's another one that was just in Cinco area that just needed a little love, and that's before and after. Literally just quick. All I had to do is paint, quartz, backsplash, look at the lighting, done. That was it. Sold immediately. So that's why most of my houses will only sit on the market for less than 10 days. If it's more than 10 days, I freak out big time. And you should too. That means you're not doing something right or you're not instructing your clients in the appropriate manner. Same thing, virtual staging. Staged, not staged, same house. It just looks inviting and it makes me want to go and look and see what's in there. All right, so lenders. So these are my lenders that I use. These are with Prime Lending. They do the renovation loans. Now, with the renovation loan, you're going to have to obviously have good credit. You're going to have money out of pocket because you have to put a hefty down payment down for this, and you have to front some of the money for the reno. Okay, so typically they only cover about 80% of the reno. So remember that. These guys do every kind of lending that you can imagine. They're my only people I use for my clients right now. When my clients buy something, I use Jeff or Yanni. Yanni speaks Spanish. She's amazing. She's from El Salvador, and she kicks butt. Yes, ma'am.
What's the difference between hard money and this one?
Okay, so hard money is, so people say that hard money is cash. It's not cash. You still have to get a loan through them. So it's considered cash, but the interest rate are insane. Yeah, hard money loans right now are like 9%. Typically what hard money do is they take the Wall Street Journal prime price, which right now is probably close to 8, and add 1%. That's typically how they get their hard money. 9% is, oof, that's brutal. So when you're gonna flip, make sure that your interest rates are good. And you have to add in that interest into your final equation because that's gonna ding you as well. That comes out of your bottom line. Okay, so let's talk about, this is the stuff. This is how you're gonna learn. So everybody write down ARV, after repair value. So if you have investors, they're going to say, hey, Arlie, what is the ARV on this property? And you're like, I don't know what an ARV is. Okay, so calculating after repair value. It's not complex, it's pretty simple. It's your property's current value. So right here, property's current value plus the value of renovations. Okay, so that's your after repair value. So you're gonna have to know how to do comps. If you don't know how to do comps, you shouldn't be a real estate agent. All right, most of you should have, as you get into this more and more and more, at year 5, if you're in real estate at year 5, you should have a pipeline of contractors. HVAC, electrical, plumbing, painters, landscapers, cleaners, house cleaners, roofers. You should have that. If you don't, you need to start getting that. You need to start doing that, okay? You can always, if you have time, you can always act as the GC, the general contractor. That saves you about 10-15% on top of what you're going to spend. To me, it's not worth it. I don't have time. So I always have a GC that I know really, really well that knows what I like to do in the house. All right, so maximizing the flip up. Make sure you're getting your materials and estimates right and buying them at a discount. One of my business partners owns a building distribution warehouse. So I'll call him up, say, Hector, I need blah, blah, blah. And then he'll give it to me for his cost. So start networking, guys. Know your contractors and their capabilities. So I have a contractor for high-end. I have a contractor that just paints because he's done some work for me and it was so bad that I only allow him to paint. So he's my painter and fence builder. And then you want to have somebody that can kind of do a little bit of everything. All right, so you've got to have that general handyman on speed dial. And then don't give his information out to a bunch of people because then he gets busy like mine and then he doesn't have time for me anymore. So keep your budget based on the neighborhood too. So I knew that Spring Branch location that I was going to be able to jack the price up really high into $260 a square foot when I did that flip that I showed you in the beginning. And that's what I did. And so I knew I could go a little bit crazy here and there. I knew that I could raise the ceilings because I knew that that would add value to that particular neighborhood. But if you're in a neighborhood like in Katy, where the max price per square foot might be around 165, 170, you might not want to go crazy with your budget. You might want to stick to more basic things, okay? You can find basic things that aren't antiquated and ugly, I promise you. Floor and decor, there's a ton of stuff off Hempstead Highway. Take the time one day, if you've never gone up Hempstead Highway up here towards 290, and just go into all those flooring shops. Go into the flooring shops, go in the cabinet shops, go in there and look and do that's market research, guys. You have to start doing that. Budget based on the neighborhood, we just talked about that. Now, let's talk about the 70% rule. So the 70% rule is simple math. All you're gonna do is multiply the after repair value times 70%. So after repair value times 0.70, and then subtract any repairs needed. So it's gonna give you 30% margin to cover your profit, okay? So let's do a simple calculation and see if anybody can do this. All right, here we go. You guys gonna need paper, calculator? Okay. I bought that flip house that I just showed you in the beginning for $250,000. Okay, that's what I bought it for, it's $250,000. I knew that I was gonna add on to the house. So I knew I was gonna add on to the house and to get additional square footage so that I would make more money, which I did. So I put $200,000 into the house, roughly, $200K. And then I sold it for $640,000. Did I hit my ARV? Did I hit my purchase price correctly at $250,000? Somebody do the numbers. $248,000. Yes, ma'am. Nice. Somebody can do math in here. Wow. You're a math teacher. All right, do you want to tell everybody how you did that?
Yeah, please.
Tell everybody how you did that.
Well, also, I'm very familiar with this because I work with investors. I took 640, because that's what she sold it for.
Yep.
Times 70%, which was, sorry.
So 640 times 0.70.
70%, yeah, which is 448,000. And then I subtracted her 200,000 in repairs, and that gave me 248.
Yeah,
And her purchase price is 250, so she was right.
I was right on. 2,000 different. Yeah.
So right now, with the market and everything being so expensive, will you stray from that at all? Will you go to 75?
I do. I do a little bit. I stray from it a little bit because I know where I can cut costs and where I can't cut costs. Okay, so I know that if the roof is 10 years old on a flip property, that I'll probably just let it slide and then let them ding me on the inspection and then maybe give them money back at closing. So you have to know, where you can wiggle. You know your wiggle. Okay, that's something Christy would say. Where's she at? Know your wiggle. Anyway, so here's another example. So your AR after repair value, so you take your property's current value, the value of the renovations, okay, gives you your after repair. So maximum purchase target price is what? Your ARV times 70 minus your estimated repair costs. So here's your example, 200,000 times 70% minus 30%, maximum purchase target would be 110 in that instance, okay? If you don't understand that, you can Google ARV and it gives you kind of a breakout. There's ARV calculators if you suck at math, but this is simple math, so you guys should be able to do this. Okay, so here's a scenario. Here's a flip calculation example so we can see that. So my after repair value comps are at 150. Repairs are at 25K, unknown costs. So when you get a renovation loan, your lender, like Prime Lending, Jeff and Yanni that do mine, will factor in an additional 15%. They said, do you want me to factor in 10 or 15%? I was like 15, because I ended up going 20 over my budget. All right, I would have made a hell of a lot more money if the house wasn't falling down around, you know. So you remember, factor in. So also factor in your commission, not your commission. You're not taking commission on it, right? You get that why, right? Taxes, that whole thing? Okay, all right. You don't want to pay taxes on that. Title insurance, other closing costs, your HOA fees, you have to factor all that in. Temporary ownership expenses, what would those be? What are you going to have to pay when you're there? HOA. I mean electric, water, gas, utilities. A lot of time, you know, if you're going to permit it, you're going to have those costs too. Permitting is not cheap, guys, not cheap at all. Financing terms and loan costs, factor that in. That's for that other factor. So this is probably the most important slide here because you have to factor in all those things. So my break-even point was $107,500, right? So your selling costs are going to be lower than most people because you're a real estate agent. So keep that in mind. So you're only going to have to pay 3% commission unless you act as intermediary and represent both the buyer and seller, okay? Now, once you're in that house, when I walked into that house, the lady wasn't even home. She was in Arizona. She hadn't been to the house in a year. Her husband died in the house. Like, the hair on the back of my neck stood up when I walked in. And I get up in the attic. I mean, you want to go nasty, and you want to take somebody with you so that they're taking notes. You want to count windows. Like, I know that sounds crazy. You want to count every window, count every light fixture, count every drawer pull, count every toilet, every sink, every little thing that you can think of, you've got to count. It's all a numbers game. This is all math. Everything is math about this. How old's the water heater? How old's the roof? Ask 1,000 questions when you're there. Especially if you don't get an inspector. If you get an inspector, he's going to let you know these things. However, he doesn't know the cost of replacement on windows. He doesn't know the cost of that stuff. And if he's telling your clients he knows the cost of the stuff, you can sue him, just so you know that. All right, insulation. Things like insulation, window coverings. When you do the flip, should you add window coverings? There's a good question. I didn't, and guess what? It sold for over a list price. You know, so you have to think about those things. Water filtration. Is it worth to put water filtration? No. Is it worth to put a generator? No. Not for a flip. Is it worth digital programming thermostat? I think that's a pretty good one to put on there. You know, elevator ready. If I'm building, so then we're going to flip our mindset a little bit. If I'm building, hell yes, I'm going to make an elevator capable ready closet on each individual floor because I build those 3-story, 4-story townhomes. So I'm definitely going to wire it for it already. It's a selling point. So think you've got to do 2 different mindsets. Built-in vacuums, no, we don't see those anymore. Home warranty, offer home warranty too. If you're doing a flip, you can always offer a home warranty so that nothing comes back on you. And in my personal opinion, I get everything permitted through the city. It saves you. It'll save you in a lawsuit It'll save you, and you want to take pictures of the entire flip when you're there, and I'll show you why. All right, so you're going to notate all these items when you're walking through, just like I just said. You know, are you going to have to account for stairs? If there's stairs and you have to replace the spindles, that gets pricey. Or are you just going to paint the stairs and the spindles? Okay, your baseboards, like little things like trim work. Trim work is so expensive, guys. You have no idea how expensive baseboards are. You know, do you once you start demoing things, it's like, where do you stop? So you have to have a stopping point, right? So I just remodeled my bathroom a year and a half ago, and I was like, oh, well, if I do the doors here, then the rest of the doors in the house aren't going to be done. And so you have to know where your stopping point is. All right. So you're also going to want to take measurements of each one of your bedrooms, baths, and everything. And the why I say that is you can get some of these hard costs yourself. Like Floor & Decor, you can go to Floor & Decor. All their prices are online, so you can get an idea of what you want, and then you can go shop it elsewhere. But if you have an idea of how big each room is that you want to put a certain LVP tile in or LVP flooring in or tile in, you can do those calculations. Measure the area in the kitchen. Measure your countertops so you can call your contractor and say, hey, I have X amount of space here. And no general measurements. Like a general measurement for a countertop from the backsplash to the front is 22 inches. Know the heights of things because they're going to ask you all these questions that you have. All right, selling the flip. So you got to have those marketing plan. You got to have a marketing plan ready to go. Mine is I make it look so good that we're not going to have to worry about a marketing plan. That should be your marketing plan, guys. Don't do chinchy flips. It drives me nuts when I see that a wall should have been removed and the flipper was cheap and they didn't do it, and now the house is going to sit, and it always does. Sits for 60, 90, 120 days. Not good. Google Ads is your friend, guys. If you have the money to do Google Ads, start doing it. Get your own website ready. My website imploded on me. I don't know what happened to it. But I have a beautiful website. It's just jaimefallon.com, and it had all my flips on it. And I'm trying to get it back up and running. But if you have that, you can send that to your clients, to your investors, and say, hey, I'm going to help you sell this house. That's what you get with me. And I'm going to help you with the renovation. And you don't charge them. You just act as a sounding board. And if they have a question on tiles, boom, here, use this tile, use this paint. So all my friends know to call me. They're like, what paint is popular now? And I'll tell them. So you need to be that research person for them and do the grunt work for them. All right? Do your staging, do your virtual staging. I always have an open house party with the whole neighborhood. Why? Why would I do that?
DRM, in case they want to sell their house too.
Boom, boom, boom. Yes, so I have a database of everybody in that neighborhood of might die eventually, okay? Because all the neighborhoods I'm in, everybody's old and decrepit and they're dying. And so yes, I know that sounds bad, but honestly, they're moving on in life, literally moving on. And estate sales, that's a good place. Now, if you go to an estate sale and you're like, hi, I'm a real estate agent, does somebody die here? No, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. You need to be very, very cautious because you can turn people off, all right? So those are some things to think about is especially open houses. If you make a business out of this and do design on the side like I do, you know, I probably made $100,000 in my design work on the side last year. And that's on top of my real estate stuff that I did, on top of my team, and then my flips. So I have 4 streams of income coming in at all times. So become a market leader in stuff like that, and you'll never have to worry about money again. Do I work my ass off? Yes, I do. I don't sleep, clearly, okay? All right. So this was a flip that I did as well. That one I actually did with one of my contractors with VFR Texas. So that was one of them. Now I'm going to show you the after. All right. I want you to see. Here we go. Totally different. Totally different.
That's the first house.
Okay, who do I use for the cabinets? So I get them from my supplier. So there's so many. Kentmore cabinets are really good if you're gonna do, you want soft closing drawers, okay? You wanna put the drawer pulls on. I don't use gold and I don't use silver, I use champagne. And I get them on Amazon. And you can get different sizes, but always use like a middle color. You can mix metals. It's okay to mix metals now, guys. If you notice, I have black faucet, black pot filler. Who has a pot filler? I put one in. Yeah, you got one? Yeah. All right, let me show you. So notice that I didn't put the front of the house as the first picture. That's the front of the house. Do you remember what the old front of the house looked like? It was bad. It was bad. Whole new roof. Everything. The pavers, that was so easy. Those pavers were $8 at Lowe's. They're 24 by 24. So I think I got, I don't know, 20 of them or so. And there was no entrance from the street, right?
That's a good, inexpensive way.
Absolutely. And bull rock. Use the black bull rock. So, oh, also notice, I don't like my sight lines, I don't like when people put, microwaves up on the wall. They're so ugly. They just remind me of the 70s. Like, why haven't we thought of something better yet? You know, and then this right here, this area on the left, that there was a window there. So guess how I fixed that? All the fireplace that I took down, all that brick, boom, filled it in. Then in the master suite or the primary suite, I had a window that I had to remove because the primary suite became a closet and a bathroom. And I added on a wing onto the back of the house. So you can get ready to see it. Okay. That's the one that I just showed you guys in the beginning. That was the same one.
Yeah,
The Spring Branch house. Yeah. So there it is. So I took out, so the fireplace was right there in the corner. So I took it out. And instead, I made a pony wall, and I put an electric fireplace there. So inexpensive. That literally, and then I drew some stuff out on the wall. He's like, well, what do you want as your feature? Because that's my thing. I always put a feature wall, because I could have left that wall blank and just done white and flat and boring. Okay, let's spend $300-400 and make it look like a wow. And everybody in that neighborhood that did flips started doing this same thing. So I literally just drew it. I drew it on the sheetrock right next to it. I said, just do this. And he was like, oh, that's cool. And then brace it. If you're going to do a flip like that, brace it in the interior for a TV and put the electrical outlet there. Nobody wants to run all that stuff after they close, right? And if you'll notice, I don't know if you realize this, but this whole thing was pushed out. I added a half bathroom right here. The breakfast room went away because I now have a dining room. So every window was replaced, roof replaced. I left some of the original architecture. I had to replace the garage doors. See, and even little touches like this. I mean, that cost me $20 to have that little sign made. And everybody's like, oh my God, it's so cute. Yeah. All those little things. Replace the old mailbox. Yeah. The doors replaced. And I'll go back to the pre-pictures so you can see them again. So you're going to be like, oh my goodness.
Do you do hardwoods, or I'm seeing a lot of vinyl?
Those are vinyl. White oak vinyl. Oh. Let me go back. So see the difference? Isn't that crazy?
Oh, those are hardwoods, right?
These were, no, they weren't. They used to have shag carpet, she said, and they ripped it out. They didn't do anything else, but then they put this crappy, it was like, laminate. Yeah, they were laminate, yeah. But see how it opened everything up? And then so I made that into a bar. So instead, where'd it go? So that's a bar area. See it? See the bar? And I wanted them to go all the way down. And you know why? Because I hate seeing coffee makers and all toasters and all that stuff. So they're able to be hidden inside, and I put plugs inside. Those are the things that people don't think of that women love. So you got to think like, if you're a man, start thinking like a woman. Yeah. Let me see. All right. So say it again. Yeah, so in white, and don't do harsh whites. If you're gonna paint the exterior of a house, use alabaster. It's not so cold, right? Yeah. The interior, I use pure white on everything. Every single thing. They sprayed it, so it all looks so crisp and clean. But this was the entryway. This was the dining room. That used to be the formal living room. And then this I made into an office. Yes, pure white. I always use Sherwin-Williams. Contractors primarily use Sherwin-Williams because they get a discount. They get a bulk discount. So try and use Sherwin-Williams only. They will give you a designer kit as well. If you just say you're a designer, they'll give you an entire kit. I have a kit this big with thousands of colors in it for free. Yes, they are. So that then became the little office. See the trim work at the top? I did a craftsman trim work because I wanted to keep the same time period of the house, okay? Now, if it's an 80s house, but these are cool houses. There was one door to the right and a window seat, and so I made it double doors, so symmetry. You want it to be symmetrical. I don't know why they didn't do things symmetrical back in the day. So office, and see I kept the little niche here. There was mold in this office. Notice I didn't use a boob light. I used a normal light. Yeah, no boob lights. You know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. They're awful. Yeah, so here we go. So here's the bathroom. I added on the bathroom. Now, you can add on, if there's an existing slab out there, so all we did was we leveled the slab that was there existing, blew that out a little bit, added on a powder bath because that adds value. Powder baths add on value. This house was 1,960 square feet, and I think I got it up to 2,400 square feet with what I added on.
Nice.
So added just that much more. If you're gonna put in an island, do dual-sided drawers or do dual-sided cabinetry so you can get on both sides. Okay. Notice the lights are all cohesive. The fireplace is cohesive with the powder bath. So everything's gonna tie in. You'll see here in a minute. So this is open. That used to be the entryway to the office. So I closed that off, put my fridge there. I did a Z-line 6-burner cooktop, 5 or 6. Let's see here, so you can see that. So notice the lighting. So I'm doing bubble lights. I wanted to do bubble lights in this house to go kind of get that 60s retro vibe, okay, which are very popular right now anyway. Yeah, 6-burner. Pot filler. Do the little things do the wow factor things on a flip like this. Now, so this was originally there was a door here. There was a door here, there was a window here. That leads to the garage. So this I made into a pantry. So again, I went ceiling to floor, the whole thing. Now, I could have done open shelving, which probably would have given them more space. But in this instance, nobody wants to see that stuff. Nobody wants to see the paper towels and the Ziploc and the kids' snacks and all that. So it's all hidden. And then I added on this little mudroom bench. So with washer and dryer here, okay? Now this wood right here, so this is the powder bathroom. That cedar board that I took off the exterior of the house.
Wow.
And he was like, what do you want? And then I literally sat on the floor and grabbed a bunch of cedar and I just started doing the little matrix. And he's like, okay, so you just want it kind of Tetris. There was a game called Tetris when I was growing up. Okay. All right. I just dated myself. Yeah, and so I just kind of Tetrised it, and I was like, listen, let's just do it like this, and then I wanted to paint it the same color as the fireplace to tie it all together, see? So, yeah, it's the little itty-bitty things that differentiate a good flip from a crap flip. All right, and this was definitely a good flip. And then my lighting. Those are Amazon. Amazon, I think they were $60.
Really?
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, ma'am.
So when you added the square footage, did you hire an appraiser to like estimate?
Yes. At the end, yes.
To put it on that, not what?
Yep, absolutely, and I'll show you. So get those pictures of the lights. Have your girl. So this is the primary suite I added on.
Nice.
There's nothing there before. And the backyard, I'm sitting on 10,000 square foot lot. I'm right under. So I was like, why not? So I went all the way to the very end of where the survey line says I have an easement. I went right up to it, right there. And then I wanted, most people like lots of natural light. They want a space for their TV. A lot of people hang out in their bedroom now because it's Netflix type stuff, you know. So I wanted this wall. I was like, well, where am I going to put my HVAC? So I put my HVAC up in the ceiling because there was nothing there before. So I had to come up with this by myself, right? So HVAC there is run. So you can see it here and here and here. And then this used to be nothing. There was nothing. That was the primary suite right there behind this door. So you'll see. I created a hallway. That was the primary suite. So this was, I'm literally, if you're looking at it right now, you would be in the yard. Okay, now you're in the primary
There
suite.
was no HOA for this house?
There is an HOA, but it's voluntary. Bare minimum. So I let them know what I was doing, and they were like, cool.
Oh, okay.
That was it. So behind this wall was the bathroom, and behind the bathroom was the closet, which I'll show you. And notice how I did dual chandeliers instead of one chandelier. Those are just the little things. Yeah, the bathroom before was, I'm telling you, it was from here to here. It was the smallest bathroom I've ever seen in my life. But I did hanging. So that's something that I'm doing now a lot is in the bathrooms, instead of doing vanity lights above, I'm doing the hangers, and then I'm doing just recessed lights above. It helps when you're doing your makeup for the evening time, you can pop off one of the lights, leave the darker lights up. Okay. I got this tile. You can see a better picture of it later. I think I got this tile at Lowe's, and it was inexpensive, and they still have it right now. But it's something that's very neutral. You want to go neutral, nothing crazy. And then I designed this closet right here. So we were in the original primary suite, and there was a window right there. It's the same thing. I covered up the window, made a huge shoe rack. All these are soft closed drawers, custom closet. I even did, that's really popular right now too, is having the faucet come directly out of the wall. Very simple. Another thing that you need to think about when you're doing faucets and fixtures in a flip house, most of you are going to want to chinch out on the faucets and get something off-brand. You'll have more problems than you know if you don't use Delta, Moen, Price Pfister, or American Standard. Like they've got some really cool ones on Amazon. You're like, oh, I love the way that looks. And 99% of the time they crap out within the first year. And so you don't want to be known as that flipper that puts in crap materials. Okay, so think about that. Bedroom. So in this bedroom, I had to reconfigure the front of the house a little bit. It's hard to explain with this, but it actually gave me more closet space in this front bedroom. So this right here, the door used to be over here, and then there was like an HVAC room, where you can open the door, you see the HVAC right there. So we moved and rerouted everything up into the attic to give more space. And then this was the bathroom. So if you look, I think I've got pictures of the bathroom. Oh yeah, see, that was isn't that crazy? the difference? So that was that room that we just looked at. So I took these out. I know. So this bathroom is this bathroom. See? The before. Isn't that nuts? And after.
Jamie, how did you find the house? Because I couldn't find it on the MLS.
On my house? This house?
This one, yeah.
How did I find it?
Yeah, how do you know it's for sale?
She contacted me directly. Like, it wasn't for sale. She contacted me and wanted me to sell it. And I said, I can't sell this.
So you bought it from her?
I said, I'll buy it from you, but I ain't selling it. I'm not putting my name on it. Yeah. Yeah, she took it and ran. She was super excited.
Okay, so you bought it off market.
Mm-hmm.
Did you
Yep.
give her the number or did she give you a number?
I gave her the number. I told her what I would do, what she would get if we put it on the market just like that. She might have been able to get a little bit more, but she also had, when I ran the title, she had a lien, she had back taxes, and la 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 la. And so it took 2 months to close instead of 1 month, and that was the other thing. Is I said, let's pull title first and see. And then I said, okay, you owe this. Nobody's going to want to deal with it. I'll deal with it. And it just took us longer to close. And I was cool with that because that's money I didn't have to spend at the moment. So, yeah, see, we had another there before. But this is the whole add-on from that wall right there, that little line right there. That was all added on. Yeah.
So you said it took 7 months to build?
It took about 6 months plus the finalization, like really humping it in the end. That's the other thing. If you get a renovation loan, I'm so glad you said that. If you get a renovation loan and you tell the bank it's going to take you 6 months, they're going to charge you for month 7 extra. So make sure you add on. I learned my lesson because this one took a little bit longer. I learned my lesson. So just tack on another couple months and say, hey, it'll be done by this date, so they don't charge you. Okay?
Do you do other flips while you're doing a flip? Do you do multiple, or you only stick with one and then finish? How many do you do a year?
If it's like this, I typically only do 1 or 2. If they're like this, I try to have something in the works. Like right now, I have nothing, and I'm like, ugh. Like I need it. Like I get really bored. I don't even know. Then I start fixing shit in my house, and I'm like, why am I doing that? I'm not gonna get any money out of that. So yeah, you probably start with 1. Start with 1 because like Kelly's done flips, and she's got PTSD from it. So. So you got to be very careful. And it's all about how much money you have to put towards it because you're going to need a lot of cash, guys. You need cash. In this instance, you need money to make money. So if you own your house, if you have equity in your house, or find a rich Sancho, find somebody, find an old man dying, something, and that's the way. But every available bit of money that I had, I hoarded. I hoard money like a little rat, and I don't touch it. I have my investment accounts, and then I put money aside only for this. That's all, it just sits there. And so right now my money's not working for me, and that's why I'm like, yeah, like it's just sitting there. But interest rates are so high, so I have to go, okay, am I gonna pay cash for it, or am I gonna wait until interest rates come down? There's never a right answer. There's never. If you don't do it, you're never gonna learn. Worst case scenario, you break even. If you do your numbers right, worst case scenario, you break even. Okay?
I have a question.
Yeah.
For the FHA, you know how they have the 90-day rule? Do you usually wait the 90 days to list? Or if it's like a quicker flip? Or do you list like a month?
Flips are gonna take 90 days minimum. If your flip takes you less than 90 days, then you didn't flip it. You just put lipstick on a pig. You know what I'm saying? Like, a true flip is going to take you at least 90 days. If you're just going in and painting and adding cords and whatever, you know, that's really not a flip. Yeah, that's a great question though. But yes, I would probably wait the 90 days, especially if it's not financed. I mean, then you're just out insurance and electricity and HOA, right? Yeah. Let me see.
Jamie, I have a question.
Mhm.
So, I I have a client who just closed on an investment property on Monday,
Okay.
and it is it got, the water heater caught on fire, so like it's completely gutted to the stud.
Good.
2-story, like 2,700 square feet, and his contractors, he's already gotten quotes and everything, they start this week, and they told him it's gonna take 6 weeks from start to finish.
They're lying.
So would you, he says he trusts him.
It's gonna take
he's
3
worked with
months.
him before, would you just let him, okay, I mean, if you've worked with him before, you trust him, or would you suggest he get another bid? Cause 6 weeks, I was like, there's nothing in there except like wood stud, like that's it, it's down to the side.
Yeah, they're lying.
That's,
Just tell him. I mean, is he an investor that's flipped before?
no.
Oh, God. He's getting snowed.
But, so these guys, his dad is an investor, and so these guys have worked for his dad for a long time. So they know these guys, but I'm just concerned, like, it's our first deal together, and
Yeah.
I don't want him to get.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say there's a little red flag. I'm concerned. Have you signed a contract? Have you seen their insurance? So you need to be that voice of reason for him so that he is not blindsided. That's the one thing you don't want to happen. I mean, especially if you convinced him to get this first investment property and then you're at the helm and then all of a sudden you bail out. You want to stay involved in this because you're ultimately going to sell it for him later, right? Or you're going to lease it for him later, whatever. So you need to stay actively involved. You need to tell him what materials he shouldn't use because you know what sells. Don't use granite. Don't use level 1 granite. Use quartz. Spend the extra money. So it would behoove you to tell him, hey, let's sit down and run some numbers.
Okay.
And have a contract. Like if they do not give you a contract, do not use that contractor because they are not smart. You need a contract. Okay. Any more questions? Are you guys okay with
Yeah,
that
I have a
ARB?
question.
Yes, Hussein.
So you talk about demoing a lot of walls and all that, so do you do that yourself or you think a structural engineer to give you an advice on that?
So the contractor that did this for me is an architect certified in Mexico. And so he moved here, but because the way our laws are and everything about schooling, they don't care that he was an architect there. He'd have to get his degree here. So I know, but I also know just from experience now what's load bearing and what's not. I can tell. But you have to do your research. You have to get up into the attic and the rafters and on and on and on. So yeah, it would behoove you to get a structural engineer for that. And I've got a great one if you guys need him too. In terms of, and I will show you, like I raised the ceilings in this house. So this whole wall was structural that had the fireplace on it that I opened up. So that wall that was right there, that's structural. This wall
I see a lot of.
was structural, yeah. And so I raised it. The original ceiling is what the dining room looks like right there. But the attic was pitched. Like I almost moved into this house. I loved it so much. It was an act of love that went into this one. It was my favorite. And it had pitched roof. And so if I had moved into it, I would have gone all the way up to the ceiling.
So I guess my second question from this now, so the attic space is made very tight at this point, right?
No, the attic space in this one was vaulted. So I could have taken this and gone upstairs. I could have done up, and then the city would never know that I was doing a flip. But for my peace of mind and for the buyer's peace of mind, I permitted this entire project, which took a little bit longer. It probably added a month onto the process, but peace of mind, I'll never get sued off this one, ever, because city signed off on it. Their inspector signed off on it. So yeah, so when you walk into a house, my mind turns into a matrix, and so you've got to start conditioning your mind to think like that. It is hard to do, but you see enough pictures on HAR that you're like, why did they leave that? Why did they use granite? Why did they use that ugly toilet? You know, there's just so many things. Yeah, good question. So yeah, so I added power beams in the entire house, and this wall I built out just a little bit. Any other questions? No? That's just my favorite flip. I have so many of them, but nothing.
Do you
Okay.
have like an Excel that you use to kind of justify how much you had to put into the house?
An Excel spreadsheet? Yeah. I put right in everything before, so I have my contractor give me what he expects everything to cost me. So he spells it out, and then as we go along, he fills in how much it actually costs. And I'm the queen of blowing my budget, and he knows that. So we try and inflate everything a little bit more for my expensive taste. So don't
Yeah,
have
go
expensive
on.
taste.
I've got one more question.
Yeah.
So when you do the addition,
Yep.
you have to do another slab, right?
Yes, when I did
Now
the addition,
You
yeah.
require another
Survey.
survey
And permit.
Okay.
Yes. So that's a great question. So if you do add on to the property, this is the first one I've actually added on to. We're going to require an original survey. So I had to get an original survey with the house. And then after they add on the slab, before the city will allow you to build, you got to get another survey. So I learned a lot in this flip. You got to get another survey that the city has to approve of before you actually build on the new slab.
You have to get 3 surveys. You gotta get another one after you complete it.
Yeah.
Well, that's optional.
That's optional. It is optional unless the buyer, yeah. Yes.
What was the most expensive thing that you spent on this? It
Um,
cost you the most.
the most expensive thing were probably the beams racing the ceiling in the addition. My addition was 141 a square foot. So, but I mean, I added on, I think the master suite was 14 by 21. It was massive, like it was a massive, massive room. But I wanted that space for extra money. I mean, I spent 141 a square foot to build it, but I sold it for 250 something a square foot or 240 something a square foot. That's just no brainer.
70K.
Yeah, no brainer. Yes, sir, in the back. Oh, yes, ma'am, sorry.
Okay, I just wanted to share that I do some flips myself, and your project is absolutely amazing. But if you want to get into it, like I'm pretty conservative, so I would say like maybe start off with like a small, probably even like a townhome or something, but I recently did a house that, I got in pre-foreclosure. I got it for like 200. I put like 20K into it and it appraised for 305. So I
Awesome.
kept it as a rental property because it was in a great like residential neighborhood. And it was something really minor, like the walls had like the popcorn walls, so I just had them like sand it down and paint it a more like popular color. I replaced light fixtures and it had like a new HVAC system. And I did maybe like a few other things, but really just like 4 or 5 things. And it turned out to be like still a profitable, I was probably at 75%.
That's great.
It still was like something that didn't take up too much of my time because we're also agents and then I had kids, so you know, it was like a little like side project. Even if I was to sell it, it'd be fine, but I kept it as a rental. So, and I'm doing one now that's a full rehab and it's like down to the studs and it's taking so much longer because I have to get the permits and this one had foundation issues and things like that, which can be very overwhelming and cost a lot of money. So,
Start small.
yeah, so I.
Moral of the story,
like,
start small.
yeah, like start small, even like listings that have been on the market for a very, very long time that maybe aren't, like you said, like aren't selling because they just need some cosmetic updates, like maybe consider something like that, something that's been
Yeah.
on for almost a year and like maybe start there and kind of do that and relist it.
Yeah, great, those are great points, guys. Yeah, start small. You don't want to do one like this. Mm-mm. No, it'll eat your lunch. Many sleepless nights. Any questions? Any other questions? Good. Yes, ma'am.
The permitting, usually how long does that take to come back?
So if you're, okay, this is a great question. If you do not have the right contractor, permitting can take forever. Because it's you scratch my back, I'll scratch your type situation. The good contractors in the city know all the good permitter, all the good guys that give the permits out. They know. And if your contractor is not available and he's got too many jobs working, then the permitting guy with the city can't get into the property and he needs to be there for that. And so that is super, super important. If you've got a crappy contractor, then he probably didn't get plans drawn up. I actually met with an architect on this property too. So I had architectural renderings, the whole gamut. I did all of it. So that's a great point. it takes a long time if you don't have the right guys working. Anything else?
You're good.
Good. Thank you guys. I hope you learned something. You're welcome. You're welcome. No, thank you. Appreciate it.